as you all know, we've been asked to introduce an alternative to fluorescent lighting for a local hospital. So today I'd like to discuss how we as a team can improve their hospital lighting standards. Alright, so on the agenda today, I'd like to discuss with you the negative effects of fluorescent lighting. After that, we're going to go into some alternatives to fluorescent lighting, and those include artificial sunlight lamps, a large-scale renovation project to increase natural daylight, and finally the installation of warm incandescent bulbs. After that, I'd like to talk to you about some of the positive effects that these alternative options can have. And lastly, I'm going to give you what I think is the best recommendation out of these three options. Alright, so starting with the negative effects of fluorescent lighting. So fluorescent lighting can inflict additional health concerns on a patient, and some of those include migraines, depression, sleep deprivation, increase in stress levels, and also mercury poisoning. Now, although fluorescent lighting is cheap and appears to save the hospital money, these health concerns that this type of lighting can provoke may end up prolonging the patient's stay, and that may in turn cost the hospital more money. Alright, so for our first alternative we have the artificial sunlight lamps. Now these lamps, the use of these lamps can also be referred to as light therapy. And for those of you who don't know, light therapy is the process of exposing somebody to an artificial sunlight lamp. And these lamps are typically used on people who suffer from seasonal affective disorder and depression, primarily. Alright, so in terms of costs, this is actually our most practical and cost-effective option, with the lamps coming in at about $100 each. So no more than fluorescent lighting, is actually about the same price. Alright, and it is likely that this will be a favorite of the doctors and the staff. They will likely be in favor of it because this is probably a known treatment to them already. And now the only con to this option would be it is unfortunately not the most aesthetically pleasing. So we would have to decide if a slightly undesirable appearance is enough to outweigh the benefits of our main objective. Alright, so here we've got a bar graph, and basically it shows the respondents of 252 survey participants and how they responded to artificial sunlight. And as you can see, the blue bar represents the positive effect that artificial sunlight had on them, and it shows that 58 to 90% of people positively benefited from it. And the ones that would be of most interest to us would be mood, mental awareness, vitamin D production, sleep quality, and seasonal affective disorder. Okay. So the next option we have would be to renovate, and do a renovation that would increase natural daylight exposure. Okay. So some of the main features of the project would be sorry about that. Okay, so we've got floor-to-ceiling windows, and also we would be installing skylights to the main floor. Okay, so a renovation project would actually slightly exceed the bounds of our budget, but it would be the most ideal option for achieving the overall goal to eliminate the health concerns and change the overall perception of the hospital. So this graphic shows the symptoms that can be provoked when daylight is decreased. So everything from difficulty walking to decreased energy, all the way to depression, anxiety, and irritability. So this is the progression of seasonal affective disorder symptoms, and all of these are caused by decreased daylight. So this is something that can happen to patients who are already in the hospital. So it's just additional issues that can come with decreased daylight. So a large-scale renovation project would definitely help to prevent this from happening. Okay, so for our last option, we've got incandescent bulbs. So I propose what we would do with this one is replace the fluorescent lighting with gentler ambient lighting through warm incandescent bulbs. In doing so, we will be able to create ease tensions, calm nerves, and relax the patrons of the hospital. So in terms of costs, incandescent bulbs are within our budget. They cost around the same as fluorescent lighting, and the only significant con would be the amount of energy consumption, which they are high. They consume a lot of energy. All right. So our three options that we've talked about are likely to result in our desired outcome by improving the quality of life of a patient, creating a calm, comfortable atmosphere for patients' families, patients, and hospital staff, and by eliminating the previously stated health concerns, which include sleep deprivation and increased stress levels. Okay, so to select the best lighting method for this hospital, we can choose to mimic natural daylight with artificial sunlight lamps, expand the exposure of natural daylight with a large-scale renovation, or we can replace fluorescent lighting with warm incandescent bulbs. And as for my final recommendation, I recommend that we replace the fluorescent lighting with warm incandescent bulbs. So not only is this a cost-effective option, but we can also keep the aesthetically pleasing look of the hospital. Okay, and to review everything we talked about today, we discussed the negative effects of fluorescent lighting. We went over the alternatives to fluorescent lighting, which were artificial sunlight lamps, a large-scale renovation project to increase natural daylight, and an installation of warm incandescent bulbs. We talked about the positive effects of these alternative options, and I gave you my final recommendation. And if there are no further questions, I would like to thank you for coming this evening.